Moderna's shot of the day, and it was
saving the match point.
Oh, the match point to get to number 24. There were a lot of shots that were highly impactful, but here's the final one. Another day at the office. Relief and release there. So the shot of the day brought to you by Moderna.
Look at this UnVaxxed monster win the US Open.
24 and counting. 24 and he still wants more. That's who he is.
Doesn't it feel good to see somebody that stood up against the authoritarians, who said no to their edicts, who suffered the consequences and came out on top in more ways than just one? Look at him respond previously to a BBC questioner, and the question near the end that our representative from the status operandus asks.
I understand the consequences of my decision. And one of the consequences of my decision was not going to Australia, and I was prepared not to go. And I understand that not being vaccinated today, I'm unable to travel to most of the tournaments at the moment.
And that's a price you're willing to pay?
That is the price that I'm willing to pay.
Ultimately, are you prepared to forego the chance to be the greatest player that ever picked up a racket, statistically, because you feel so strongly about this jab?
Yes. I do.
But as things stand, if this means that you miss the French Open, is that a price you'd be willing to pay?
Yes, that is the price that I'm willing to pay.
And if it means that you miss Wimbledon this year, again, that's a price you're willing to pay?
Yes.
Why, Novak? Why? Why?
Because the principles of decision-making on my body are more important than any title or anything else. I'm trying to be in tune with my body as much as I possibly can.
Now I have to mock. Why? Why? Oh my God, if only you were as smart as me. Why don't you just take the vaccine? Why don't you just give in to the science?
Attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science.
Because they've been lying about everything, from the Hunter Biden laptop to the origin of COVID, casting doubt, shadows upon anybody who might question their narrative, including US senators. Anybody who stood in their way, they squashed. And that includes our friend who just won the US Open. Congratulations, by the way, for being the greatest tennis player in history. Anytime you can state that about somebody, that is quite the achievement. And he still far surpasses that in my mind as somebody brave enough to stand up against the edict and suffer the consequences, not being allowed to play in Australia, not being able to play in the former US Open, and still coming out on top. He deserves all of our applause, all of our gratitude, and admiration for what he's done. Why? Why, Nicola? Don't trust the authoritarians. They don't have your best interest at heart. They claim they do. They cloak their edicts and their commands and such while they cover for themselves for having created, in all likelihood, the coronavirus in a lab, trying to blame it on natural zoonotic origins. Because they lie the same way that they crushed ivermectin studies to make them seem less efficient so that they would get their emergency use authorization, because they would be unable to if there was a drug that was efficacious in treating it, so that they could rob the federal tax piggy bank. And this man stands up to them. This man wins the US Open. The UnVaxxed monsters are winning once again and casting doubt on our institutions that have been so corrupted by big pharma that they try to mandate this drug for children, mask our children so that they're unable to read lips, so that their language skills go undeveloped, because they fear, and they want you to fear, and they want everybody to fall, most of all, under their control. And Nikolai said, "No thank you, comrade. I go my own way." He stood up for individual liberty, freedom, and decision making, which is what I hope for all of you out there listening.